Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. We're going to, Council President Padilla, if we could have you come forward as well. Councilmember Labange and I are going to do a couple of things here. And I think to be politically correct, what we want to do is actually start off with the centennial celebration, which is both shared by Council Districts 4 and 10. And then also we are going to do a presentation to SPART. So.
Well, thank you, Martin and Alex. Good to see you. Good morning, Greg. And good morning, everyone. It's a wonderful day, as always, when you have an opportunity to honor someone who has a great impact on our community. The Korean American members of our city have made big impact. And today is Korean American Day in the city of Los Angeles. And I wanted to join all together with members throughout to salute you. And I'd like to ask that we have joining us right now Steve Coe, is this correct right now, and Billy Yon, William Min. Please come up, gentlemen. You're all right here right now. And please greet Mr. Padilla, our president, and everybody. Fill in right here and join, because today is Korean American Day in the city of Los Angeles. And as Martin Ludlow mentioned, this is the 101st anniversary of immigration of over 100 years. And in Los Angeles, as we know of Koreatown today, and its shaping on the Olympic Corridor and the Wilshire Corridor, originally some almost 40 years ago in Los Angeles at Jefferson, near Vermont, near the University of Southern California, a small clusters of businesses started what's soon to be expanded Koreatown, which has now moved throughout. And we're joined by Councilmember Greg Smith of the 12th District and Mr. Garcetti of the 13th District, and we could probably go all members right around here, Mr. Reyes, because Koreatown is everywhere throughout. So all of us wanted to join in salute as we kick off Korean American Day here in Los Angeles this date of January 2003. Let's give everyone a big hand. Okay. Steve, do you want to speak? You want to speak first?
Thank you, Madam Chairperson and members of Council today. This is a real honor for Korean Americans in the States. We estimate more than 2.5 million Korean Americans live in the Northern America right now. And since yesterday at the state capitol, and now this morning we are here in the City Council chamber, in the great city of Los Angeles here. We are really honored to be named this very day as the Korean American Day every year on January 13. And I'd like to reaffirm this morning on behalf of the Korean community that we like to take and reaffirm another resolution that how Korean Americans will live with the spirit of this Korean American Day. We really like to participate of American dream as well as the contribution for the America and the world. Thank you so much again. And
I'm going to get the doctor over here, the good Dr. Yoon. Give Billy, no, give you a better hand. Thank Steve, you. A better hand. Get Billy over here. Billy, get in here. Sorry.
Good morning. The passing of the resolution is very meaningful and a turning point and honor for Korean community. Through the celebration of Korean American Day, it's necessary to make an effort to improve the common ties and grounds within the mainstream society for the growth of Korean American community. I really appreciate for your passing of the resolution, and I salute to the City of Los Angeles, the City Council, and I salute to America. Thank you very much.
Yes, bring him up.
Good. William Ming.
Good morning, distinguished members of Council. On behalf of Korean American community, I'd like to extend heartfelt appreciation for this special honor and recognition. I personally have lived in this city for 55 years, and I have always enjoyed and admired the administration of the city. But I'm not the only one. More than half of Korean people arriving in the United States, instead of going to their intended destination, up south to stay in this great city. That's because your city has been so hospitable, people have been so wonderful, and this recognition is really, really special thing for us. But there is a reciprocity. We too will strive harder to be a better part of your citizenry. Thank you.
I'd like to now call Janice Han to join us here because she has the Korean-American Friendship Bell in her district as it serves as the gateway to Pacific. Ms. Han, please welcome her. Okay. Thank you. All right, now, Martin, your turn. You ready?
I'm ready. Thank you very much, and I am very pleased to stand here, as you said, to recognize the Korean American here in our city, and to give my support to this beautiful resolution. And it's true, I have, I think, the most beautiful symbol of the friendship between the People's Republic of Korea and the United States, and that's in 1976. We were given the Korean Friendship Bell, which now sits atop, in my opinion, the most beautiful view in all of California, and that's right looking over Point Furman, and it's got a view of Catalina, and that Korean Friendship Bell is visited every year by millions of people. And last year, we were very pleased to recognize the 100th anniversary of the first Korean immigrant to come to this country. And right now, we are actually looking to approve another monument there that will recognize the 100th anniversary of the first Korean immigrant in this country. It is a great friendship between us, and we work to improve that relationship, and that bell is a constant reminder of the great friendship that we have. And every year on July 4th, actually 3 times a year, we ring the Korean bell. We ring it on July 4th, our Independence Day. We ring it on the Korean Independence Day in August, and we ring it on New Year's Eve. And I got special dispensation to have that bell rung when I was inaugurated to the City Council in 2001. But we continue to pray for the peaceful unification of Korea.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ludlow, and it's a great honor to be here today with the Korean American community. Ms. Han, myself, Mr. Han, the mayor, went to Korea just over a year ago to strengthen the ties of friendship between this city and Korea, and the great contributions of Korean Americans throughout this city, the business owners, the workers, folks who have taken sometimes underutilized parts of the city and really brought them up, is something that we're all grateful for. I believe so passionately in it, I still have business cards printed up in Korean, so I really feel strongly that in this city we all are made strong only because of the friendships between cultures. So today on Korean American Day, I want to say thank you to the entire community. Thank you very much to Mr. Ludlow and Mr. Labange. I represent a little part of kind of greater Koreatown. I want to thank the Koreans and the Korean Americans in my district as well for the contributions on behalf of myself and my family. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes would also like to speak.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I want to thank my colleagues for putting this together. Although I'm not standing there with you, I'm there with you every day. I could assure you that in my district, for almost as a staff person for 8 years, and now as council member, I had a pretty significant piece of Koreatown in District 1. And the past couple of years, unfortunately, it has been whittled away, but I can proudly say I probably have one of the biggest congregations in Yongnak Church, the Holy Hill Church. The Korean American community is outstanding when it comes to community improvement, community participation. My colleagues, Councilman Ludlow and Labange from MacArthur Park, in a cleanup program this past weekend. And I can go on and on of all the different ways in which the Korean community culture, in its strength in its family structure, and its ability to interact with community, how it shares its resources, is a great example of how we as an international city can reflect the level of harmony with such a rich diversity. For that, I thank you for being there for the city of Los Angeles, and indeed for the world economy. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning to our beautiful Korean community. And the community is extended out to the San Fernando Valley. And I represent the Southwest San Fernando Valley. We have many Korean families out in my district, many Korean churches, all good, honest, hardworking people who have found the American dream. And we are a city of immigrants. And the American dream is here in Los Angeles. And reflecting today on the success of the Korean community here in Los Angeles, it's a wonderful relationship that's been established. And I didn't want to forget the hardworking people in the San Fernando Valley, the Koreans in the San Fernando Valley, who are part of our environment, part of the business community out in the valley. I know we have Koreatown in the central part of the city, but there's tremendous support out in the San Fernando Valley. And there's a group that's been formed, 80/20, which is a political group with the community, the Asian Pacific community, all members, Korean members of that organization, been very involved in the American dream, American politics here in the city of Los Angeles. And I share in that responsibility of making sure that all the doors are open and the relationships are established, very solid, positive relationships. So congratulations, and I'm glad you're here this morning, glad we could share our positive words with each and every one of you. Congratulations, and thank you for being here.
And also, finally, all the way from our nation's capital, please welcome Dr. Yoon Park for some remarks. Thank you, Doctor, for coming all the way across the country.
Good morning. I represent the Korean community in Washington, D.C. I came here all the way from Washington, D.C. to give a moral support to our fellow committee members here in Los Angeles and also convey our appreciation to you. And this is a certainly great day for not only Korean community in Los Angeles, but all the Korean community in the United States. I think you are setting great example. I carry this scenery to Washington, D.C. to a similar thing in Washington, D.C. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Say bak mani
새해 복 많이 받으세요.
새해 복 많이 하세요.
It's Happy New Year in Korean. We hope that's what that was.
Thank you, Mr. Ludlow.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Labange, Councilmembers Garcetti, Reyes, Hahn, and I know Councilmember Smith is also going to be making a presentation. Just on a final note, Los Angeles is so proud that we are home to the largest Korean population in the world outside of mainland Korea, and it is a real honor for all of our colleagues to join today in honoring and acknowledging the first ever Korean American Day. Congratulations.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, did you have a presentation?
Thank you. You betcha. I'm going to get your name on there. You betcha.
Do we do the one? Thank you, Madam Chair. We're going to move quickly to our next presentation and then obviously followed by a final one. I wanted to take an opportunity today to recognize the SPART team, and I'd like to ask all of you to come forward. Joined with great Lieutenant Barbara from the LAPD and Senior Lead Officer Tim Kim. This is the Special Problem Area Response Team. And it's a real exciting opportunity to acknowledge some great Angelenos who take the issue of public safety very, very seriously. This body of Angelenos takes it upon themselves every Friday to patrol the streets of Koreatown, to do everything that they can to try to help make Koreatown safer on a day-by-day basis. One of the things that Councilmember Labange just mentioned as he joins me in this presentation is that just this past weekend we had an opportunity to kick off a beautiful cleanup in Koreatown. Nearly 1,000 volunteers came out to clean up alleys, remove graffiti, haul away bulky items, and we all believe that as Chief Bratton does, this concept of broken windows really does make sense. If you can eliminate blight at its grassroots level, it has a real trickle-up effect on moving vandals and thugs that would ordinarily find this as an area easy to prey on, a place that they should move on from. And so we wanted to bring the SPART committee in today and recognize them for the contribution that they've made in the Rampart area as ham radio operators. And as many of you know, colleagues, the ham operator concept has a long, long history in the Korean American community. And so it's a real honor to recognize them here today. And I wanted to take also just a minute to acknowledge Lieutenant Barbara. Colleagues, on Christmas Day, I had the rare privilege of actually doing some roll call visits as early as 6 a.m. on Christmas Day. Lieutenant Barbara was in leading roll call at Rampart, and as I went around and toured the other 4 divisions in my district, I'll never forget Lieutenant Barbara talking about the work that the SPART team does, but also reminding his employees and the line officers in LAPD as we were at orange level alert in Los Angeles on a holiday to take this day very, very seriously. And the way in which he presented that admonition and his challenge to his staff was really chilling for me and a real reminder of how proud we are of LAPD and how proud we are of the relationship you have with the community. And being here with SPART is a real indication of that great partnership. And so I wanted to ask Councilmember Labange if he is still up here. Is he still up here? Yes, to say a couple of words.
It was a beautiful day Saturday morning, but it was so beautiful to see all the volunteers that came out right there at Normandy at Seoul International Park there. And it was so important to see everybody do the job of claiming that this is their community they care about. But this wasn't just one day, this was many days. And the unfortunate thing we had last year is when we all got together for a cleanup, it was for the LA River. But it was the one day that it rained in LA and we couldn't be near the river. But you've always been there for us to help us in these efforts here, and I want to salute you all for what you're doing. Martin, I want to salute your great leadership. Yesterday in Martin's district, we joined together with Jan Perry's support in dedication of the groundbreaking of the new gateway to Koreatown, which is so important. So we're all proud, and because everybody joins hands and works together, and I thank you, Martin, for this. And I also want to thank those who, although they're not here today, involved with our Pusan Sister City Committee and our relationship longstanding with Pusan and the friendship that we have with the Korean American people. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, Tom. So on behalf of the Los Angeles City Council, we'd like to present this certificate of appreciation to the Special Problem Area Response Team, or SPART. It's an honor to recognize the contribution made to the community by your volunteers. The service you have provided to the neighborhoods in the Rampart area as ham radio operators has helped to make the community a better place in which to live. So thank you all so much. Congratulations.
Get right in the middle. Come on there, officer.
And I also want to acknowledge Senior Lead Officer Tim Kim, who's been doing a great job in the Rampart area. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you for all of your work. Wilshire, the extended version of Rampart.
We're right here behind you. We're right together. We're good. All right, down, Butcher, so the video guys get you from behind. Got it right there. Long shot.
Thanks, Madam Chair. And I want to send a special thank you out to our staffs, both in Jan Perry's office, Councilmember Labange, Ed Reyes, and Eric Garcetti. It's really been a great teamwork pulling this together. And the pulling up the cleanup hitter, Councilmember Greg Smith.
Good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Ludlow. You know, it surprised a lot of people to know that in the Northwest San Fernando Valley, the fastest growing population is not the Latino population, but the Korean population. And I've enjoyed a great working relationship with these folks. We have representation here today from the Northridge Korean Senior Center, who are joining us today. And also what I've really enjoyed is the culture of the Korean community. And here today for a very special presentation is Jeannie Kim, Soo Young Kim. These dancers are from the Kim Young Hwa Korean Dance Academy, and they perform traditional Korean dance and music. Today they're doing a special piece called the Chengo Dance, which is a traditional hourglass drum dance. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the dancers and to Mr. Smith for bringing them down today, and to Mr. Ludlow and Mr. Labange for the great presentations. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Cardenas, Garcetti, Gruel, Hahn, Labange, Ludlow, Miskowski, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Smith, Villaraigosa, Weisstein, Padilla, 14 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
We are now in session, and normally on Tuesdays we begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Labange, did you want to nominate someone to lead us?
Would you, who would lead here?
Mr. Labange?
Madam President, Officer Tim Kim of Wilshire area will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance today, so I ask everybody to please rise.
Could I have everyone please rise for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We also are going to begin the session with our public comment. There is a public comment speaker card that has been submitted. Let me recognize Mr. John Walsh at this time.
Well, I'm back again because you didn't hear the item that I came for on Friday. I like to let the public know what's really happening with the Dodger Stadium deal. A investor named McCourt from Boston is having, I understand, secret meetings with the mayor of the city of Los Angeles. Now, this is nothing new. This is about a stadium downtown. As you know, Hahn had secret meetings previous to this a year or two ago with Casey Wasserman to build a football stadium downtown. But the deal, which will probably involve the CRA, which is going on behind the scenes where you don't hear about it until they have the big press conference. And remember, Hahn lied before when he said there was no negotiations going on for the football stadium. They're talking about tearing down Dodger Stadium and building gigantic housing. 10% for the poor people, 90% $4,000 and up. It's going on right now. And one or two of these members of the city council know the negotiations are going on because one or two know what I'm saying. I won't go into it. I just want you to know in LA, when anything happens big, the last place you hear about it is the city council, as the mayor runs circles around you on this gigantic Dodger deal. And oh, incidentally, mayor's race, you better hurry up, Mr. Parks, because I understand that Bob Hertzberg is about 2/3, 66% certain to run. And if he decides to run before you decide to run, then he gets all the publicity. Of course, several other members of the board up here will be running for mayor. Within 48 hours of Hertzberg declaring, 2 or 3 other people will declare. You just watch. The strategy to beat Hahn is have 5 or 6 people run against him, and to try to push Hahn out of the race. Hahn is talking about not running. Everybody in this room knows, and everybody is in on the city, knows exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, I'd like to just hope everybody here has seen Mike Wallace on 60 Minutes when he did an expose. Mr. Garcetti's not even paying attention. I wish for once, when you're watching me, the camera would turn around so you could see that practically no one, except Ms. Mizakowski up here, is paying attention to anything that is said here. But in any case, the CRA, community redevelopment agencies, were exposed on 60 Minutes. Remember, they take your property away from you and they give it to a developer. The developer builds 90% luxury apartments and puts in a few affordable housing. Incidentally, affordable apartments start for 1 bedroom at $800. That's their definition of affordable. I don't want to know how many people watching this think that's affordable.
Mr. Walsh, we have other cards for public comment.
there
I'd
are
like
other
to just sum
people
up.
Okay, and I'll see you in a few minutes.
Thank you. David Jackson, followed by Robert Blue.
Good morning. My name is David Jackson. Do we have a full body here present today?
We have one member absent,
And which member is that?
Mr. Cardenas.
I'd like to just make a public comment in that, first of all, Mr. Parks is unfit to hold public office, and we'll shortly get to that. But I'd like to know why I'm the most racially discriminated person in America, not only the state of California, but why have I been constantly charged with crimes, convicted of crimes, and have these crimes overturned by LA officers and continues now for 5 years? Why have Mr. Parks never ever been into a United States courtroom as a defendant, or any of his officers, why he have held public office? Why would no one ever say anything about David Jackson and what I accomplished and what I didn't did? All this bullshit that y'all going around now talking about, what y'all finna do, it just ain't gonna work. For simply, this is governmental interest and it's not gonna be mainstream. A lot of this shit is gonna blow up in your faces, and Mr. Park is gonna be the biggest part of all that shit. There it is. I just don't understand, why there is no justice for me. Why have I been silenced? Why no one want to hear my plea? I went to courts and went in there and have juries found me guilty just for judges to overturn them and throw these cases out and to be repeatedly tried. Now, I won these cases. No one want to talk about the shit before Rampart came out that a black man in America today has represented himself as a damn fool and took you fools to the closet. Why were there not going to be one comment today from this board? Not even from that silly, ignorant Acabano.
Mr. Jackson, could you please conclude? We have other comment cards.
I don't care about how many comments you have. I'm trying to
Well,
make my comment.
there are other people
but can
who
I have my
are
few
enti-
minutes? You're going to cut me
you've
off
had-
now.
You've
If you
had
cut me
3
off,
minutes, and we
can I
have 3
my
minutes for
finish
each
half my
person.
time? Can I finish half my time? I was going to stop and just go. I just want to make my public comment.
You've
Can I
made your
do
public
that?
comment.
But I've been interrupted.
Please conclude.
Thank you. Because he is a silly individual, he shouldn't be over anything, especially holding public office. Because if anyone was to read my cases or what he have done, not even the news media, you think this shit gonna be on TV tonight? No way. You guys not gonna ever put my picture on there because I'm
All
gonna
right,
come
Mr.
at
Jackson, your time is up.
All right, thank
Let
you
me
very much.
recognize
I'll be back, Mr. Parks, every day. When I get me some money, sir.
Mr.
You can come
Robert
down here.
Blue
you
is
will
the
never
next
ever
speaker.
hold an office in this state. And no matter since you won.
The next speaker is Mr. Robert Blue. Mr. Blue?
Thank you. I know we have an item coming up, and I wanted to point out that there were changes made to that item. It's regarding agenda item number 43, and we didn't, that wasn't covered. I think there's changes that were made that weren't presented at public hearing. So it probably would be a good idea to still have a public hearing for that. So I recommend a postponement of that, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Schaubel also submitted a public speaker card.
Good morning, City Council. I was expecting to see a full City Council. I do see the people that are important to me. I'm representing the Hollywood Vine Association, and today I want to talk about I'm told that they have no EIR on this project. And another point that I want to point out that you may not know, the CRA was in June $55 billion in debt, and they're constantly raising bonds, which makes the debt enormous. The debt for the CRA is more than the whole state of California, And I think it's time that you recognize that bonds are just taxes. These fancy words for bonds, fees, it's all taxes. And when Schwarzenegger says he's torn up the credit cards, he hasn't. He's just goes to another company and gets another credit card. So it's time that the City Council beat him to it. Tear up all your credit cards. Thank you.
Thank you. Those last comments were on item 43, which I understand Mr. Garcetti will ask for public comment on. Madam Clerk, let's begin the agenda.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Zine moves, Mr. Parks seconds. Minutes are approved.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
They are approved.
On the regular agenda, item number 1 is an item notice for public hearing. The applicant consents to a continuance to February 11th.
Is there any objection to continuance to February 11th for item number 1? If not, that will be the order.
Item number 2 is also a public hearing item. Council should open the hearing and continue the hearing and ordinance to February 3rd.
We will open the public hearing on item 2. There are no speaker cards, so we will continue the item for public hearing till February 3rd.
Next items, Madam President, are items for which public hearings have been held, items 3 through 19.
Members, items 3 through 19 are before us. Any specials? Mr. Garcetti? 10 and 11 are called special by Mr. Garcetti.
5, 6.
Mr. Labange calls 5 and 6.
I think I was too.
And 4.
17.
Item 17 by Ms. Hahn.
Bingo, 14. 14, please.
Mr. Labange wants 14. Is 15, Mr. Garcetti? Any other items 3 through 19?
Excuse me, Madam President, was item number 15 called special?
Mr. Garcetti, which item did you call special? Mr. Garcetti, which item?
10, 11.
10, 11 for Mr. Garcetti. All right. Ms. Perry?
18.
18. 18 by Ms. Perry. Anything else? All right. Then those other items not called special are now before us. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items.
Next items are items for which public hearings have not been held, items 20 through 42, and 10 votes are required for consideration.
All right. There are cards submitted on items 33, 37, so we will call those special for the public hearing. Members, any other items in that grouping? Mr. Garcetti?
Can we continue item 28 till January 28th, please?
Is there any objection to continuing item 28? If not, that will be the order. Any other specials 10 through 42? If not, open the roll on those items. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Those are approved.
On the supplemental agenda, item number 43 is an item for which public hearing has been held.
Mr. Garcetti calls 43 special.
The next items are items 44 through 49. They have not had a public hearing. 10 votes are required for consideration on those items.
All right, we have no cards submitted on those items.
And there is an amending motion that has been distributed on item number 49.
All right. Items 44 through 49, any specials, members? If not, open the roll on those items. Close the roll with the amendment on 49. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Those are approved.
And going back to the items called special, item number 4 was called special by I believe Councilmember Labange, and he is in the back, and he called 4, 5, and 6.
All right, let's
special.
go to the next items until Mr. Labange returns.
Item number 10 was called special by Councilmember Garcetti.
Mr. Garcetti, item number 10.
Thank you, colleagues. I know this is from our older bond of library bonds, but often we don't get to share good news, and I just wanted to thank the library department. If you look, we've had some of the best project management for our libraries throughout the city, and some of the savings here, I know this is in CD1, the Echo Park Branch construction project, you're looking at $41,000 of savings. We're looking at, with our bond right now, throughout our projects, them coming in on time and under budget. And when the voters pass something like a library bond, I think it's very important to tell that story and to have that public trust move forward. In the Silver Lake Echo Park area, the Edendale Library will be opening later this year, and that too is moving forward. And when we're able to find savings, we're able to actually add new libraries, which I know may be the case later on, and I know that Silver Lake Library is the next one slated to move forward as we finish up other things like Harbor Gateways Library, which I know Ms. Hahn has been very passionate about, and that the library department found savings and a state grant to be able to do. But I just wanted to praise the library department and share that good news with the public.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Any other comments on item 10? If not, let's open the roll on item 10. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That matter is approved. Item 11.
It was called special by Councilmember Garcetti.
Mr. Garcetti?
Yes, do we have staff that can come forward on item 11? Do we have staff here today on the item from Barnsdall from...
Is staff present on item 11, the MOU on Barnsdall Park?
If not, I'll just say something briefly on this as well. Barnsdall Art Park, which I think many of us know is a treasure in the city of Los Angeles, something Frank Lloyd Wright structure, and that continues to be one of the best arts programs, both junior arts programs for minors as well as an adult art program. Right now that we've gone through a series of renovations using earthquake money in Barnsdall, and that's reopened to the public again in one of the best municipal art galleries in the city, I wanted to make sure that we underscore here, and I see Margie's there and some other folks, how important it is to make sure that we have something set in the line of command up at Barnsdall, that we know who there is in charge, that it be clear so that we can help all the departments that are functioning there on the most basic questions have a direct line of command. I think this memorandum of understanding moves towards that, so I wanted to thank the departments for working together to do that. I think it's the first step, hopefully of a few, that will get us to a place in which we have the most efficient operation up there, when we have general services, cultural affairs, and rec and parks really administering something. It doesn't matter so much for the residents of Hollywood which of the different departments are. They want a seamless park, and I think we're moving towards that vision. I want to thank Mr. Deaton, too, for his work on helping us do the renovations. We still have a long way to go on Hollyhock House, but I think we've moved swiftly forward with an addition of a couple more $1 million in earthquake funds to help restore the house which Aline Barnsdall lived in. And for folks who haven't been there yet, it's subway accessible, and you should check out the park. It's really an incredible jewel, and wanted to commend this MOU. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti, for those comments. Item 11 is now before us. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That matter is approved.
I believe item number 14 was also called special by Councilmember Labange. Do you wish to hold that on the desk?
Yes, we'll wait for Mr. Labange's return.
The next item would be then item number 17, called special by Councilmember Hahn.
Ms. Hahn, item 17.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, I brought this issue before us because actually I'd heard from one of my constituents who wondered why we didn't have the opportunity when people go into our city parks to recycle. And it seemed a pretty obvious request, and it seemed like something we should probably provide, but we don't right now. And as you know, the City of Los Angeles, under Assembly Bill 939, was required, as was every other city and county in the state of California, to divert the amount of waste that we send to our landfill on an annual basis. We were supposed to reach a benchmark in 1995 of 25%, and we were supposed to reach another benchmark in the year 2000 of 50% of our waste being recycled. And we have done a great job. We're actually at 61% diversion rate here in the City of Los Angeles, which is great, but I think we can do better. And more than just doing better, I think it sends the right message. And for a lot of people, you know, it's actually a religious experience to recycle. And people really feel badly at the end of the day when they've gone to one of our parks and they have to throw away a plastic bottle, a soda can. It really makes them, not feel good about themselves the rest of the day. They actually want to recycle. They believe in recycling. And I think we ought to give people the opportunity in our city parks. And besides all those feel-good parts about recycling, the Bureau states that every 10% of additional recycling represents $3.5 million in annual savings due to landfill diversion. And I got to tell you, we haven't heard back on what the actual cost will be to the city to provide recycling containers in our parks. But this seems to be another area where we could actually realize a savings. And more importantly, it's the right thing to do for our environment. We've really got to look at diverting even more than 61%. Our landfills, as we all know, are running out of space. And again, I think this is right. I hope I will have the support of all my colleagues on this to move forward and ask for analysis on what it would take to put recycling containers in all of our city parks. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Labange.
Well, thank you, Madam President. I stand to support this great proposal, and I thought of that when I got here too, and I saw you already working on it, so you beat me to the punch, because when you visit a state park, they have 3 containers. They have 3 containers that are there that give you an option, and it's not a large thing, and it's something we should ask our Recreation and Parks Department here. And I did see staff from Recreation and Parks here earlier. I don't know if they're here on this particular issue. Is anyone here? Mr. Novak, would you come to the front? I just want to address this to make the practicality. I will also tell you, members, that there are people in Los Angeles who are very passionate about recycling and do visit the parks at 4:30 and 5 in the morning to beat the Parks Department sometimes to the trash cans and remove recyclables, which is so important. But I do want to see our Department of Recreation and Parks have a commitment to this and have a focus, and then it's up to us to help them find the funding mechanism for the initial buy for the type of containers that you may see at the state park systems or at other parks for plastic, glass, and paper, and then garbage as it is. Mr. Novak, please introduce yourself and tell us how you're going to make this happen.
My name is Ken Novak. I'm a senior park maintenance supervisor with the Department of Recreation and Parks.
Got to talk into that microphone.
My name is Ken Novak. I'm a senior park maintenance supervisor with the Department of Recreation and Parks, currently assigned in the Valley region, and I'm also the department's recycling coordinator.
And you're ready for this?
Okay.
All right, members.
If you say so, Councilman, we're ready.
I know, I appreciate that, but also on this concept, are you familiar with other state park systems and county parks and others this opportunity? I think what Ms. Hahn has proposed for us is to provide park patrons an opportunity to help us recycle it. And I would tend to gather that probably close to 90 to 95% of the trash that is in trash cans at parks is recyclable in that, and taking advantage of that, and that commitment from your department is very important. And I see you're joined by someone as well with Rec and Parks.
I'm with the Bureau of Sanitation's Recycling Division, actually.
Good, and give us some your reflection on this.
Well, we began a program on a limited basis. I believe we provided some bins, 200 bins for the recycling of paper products and stuff from the offices that they rolled out. We also provided a limited number. I'm sorry. We also provided a limited number of bins for the use of bottle and can recycling, which we left up to the department as to where they wanted to place those to get them going. I believe they've been rolled out in the Valley region primarily at this point. We get funding from the state in an annual grant payment for beverage container recycling and litter abatement programs. So we have a limited amount of funds to do this. I don't know the cost of the containers that you're referring to with regard to the state parks. But however, with the amount of recyclables in the parks, there are people that tend to go through and pull those out. So by providing separate containers, we may get some additional recycling, but there are folks that do take that and use it for revenue.
Members, we're going to hopefully pass this today in the strong support, and as we move into the new fiscal year, find a way to get more recycling out of our park system. I will say, members, that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Novak, Recreation of Parks is 100% green waste recycling, correct?
That is correct, Councilor.
Correct. So that's a very important component because the green waste is the higher amount, as you mentioned, but other recycling components, such as plastic bottles and cans and bottles, can also be included. Madam President, I thank you. I know you're a champion as well for recycling and your efforts in the park, and I hope we get an aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. No one else is wishing to speak, so this matter is now before us. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That matter is approved. Next item.
Madam President, do you wish to go back to item number 4 that was called special by Councilmember Labange?
Mr. Labange, we're going back to item number 4.
Thank you. We have representatives from Cultural Affairs here this morning. Is that correct on this item?
I believe so. They're coming forward.
They were here.
They're coming forward.
Good. Margie Reese is here.
Yeah, I know. Right there. Got it. Huh? He's putting the screen up.
Madam President, this is a very important report that I wanted to bring to all of council on the status of the art collection for the city of Los Angeles. We're joined by our general manager and also,
Pat Gomez.
please
Pat
introduce.
Gomez.
Pat Gomez, good to see you, Pat.
Thank you.
And your staff is here. Margie, if you give us a little presentation, and I hope we could pick this up on City View as well.
Thank you, Councilmember Labange. Council members, when I arrived in the city of Los Angeles 3 years ago, one of the first challenges I had to face was an LA Times story citing that the city of Los Angeles was not being a good steward of its art collection. So since that time, we have, with your support, launched a full appraisal process and assessment of the city's art collection. And we have prepared a very brief presentation just to give you an update on our work over the last 2 years and where we are in the 3rd year of this review process. Pat Gomez is with me as manager of the city's art collection and murals program, and I'd like for Pat to take you through this very brief presentation. Thank you.
Excuse me, just take a moment. Thank you. Are we okay? Okay. This is an overview of the city art collection, the appraisal findings to date, and the issues which have been illuminated through the appraisal process. As you can see, the collection is diverse and includes monuments, sculpture, musical instruments, paintings, drawings, photography, furniture, and unique objects. This shows the types of works, where they are found, and their method of inclusion. The appraisal is being conducted by an independent team of appraisers selected through an open RFQ process. They have been asked to provide the 2 values for each item appraised. As you can see, the fair market value is the value commonly used for asset management and is the price we could expect to receive by selling our item on the open market, while the replacement value is commonly used for insurance purposes. This represents the findings after the first phase of the appraisal, which was completed in 2002. This report includes the combined totals of both the first and second phases of the appraisal as completed in June. As you can see, we have appraised 700 objects to date, with the running totals thus far showing a fair market value total of just under $14 million and a replacement value total of over $20 million. We have begun the 3rd and final phase of the appraisal, so the numbers will go up accordingly. As you review the findings in the itemized breakdown included in the report, you will see that there may be differences in the fair market versus replacement values. The value differences in most cases are attributed to these variables. This chart gives you the breakdown of the number of items holding the greatest value within the collection of works appraised to date. As you can see, a relatively small number of works have a high value, while the last column shows that a large number of appraised works have a value of $1,000 or less. There are 47 objects represented by the first three green, dark, and light blue columns, which represents 92% of the fair market value of the collection. The next couple of slides show a handful of significant appraised works. This represents the item with the highest appraised value to date. It was commissioned by the city at a cost of $50,000 and was completed in 1932. As you could see, it now has a value of $5 million. This is the item with the second highest value to date. It was donated by Italy in 1988 to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Marshall Plan and was given to Los Angeles as the city of the future. This is another of the high-valued work in the collection. I show it to represent the concentration of sculptures in Lincoln Park, many of which were gifts from the Mexican government. There are a total of 17 statues and busts in Lincoln Park with an approximate total replacement value of $1.7 million. The triforium represents a case where there's a significant value difference between the fair market and replacement values of the object. This can be attributed to both the condition and the difficulty in removing the work, among other factors. This is the most valuable of the collection's 24 plein air paintings. The city purchased these paintings for $50 to $100 a piece in the 20s and 30s, and now appraised values range from $6,000 to the total shown, with average values of $20,000 to $30,000. This work is currently undergoing conservation treatment as part of the Griffith Observatory renovation. This is an instance where the difference in the two values can be attributed to the fact that we, the city, are the logical owners of this group of works. It would be difficult to find a buyer interested in owning a collection of the portraits of LA mayors. The portraits are on permanent display on the 26th floor. This chart shows a distribution by type of location of the works appraised to date. As you can see, the light gray bar shows that 35 objects with a total value of over $6 million are in the libraries. Not only is the appraisal giving us values for the collection, the process is revealing new information that will aid us in addressing the three main ongoing issues listed here. This shows the current approach to ensuring the collection. As you can see, the majority of the items are considered self-insured, which means that there is not outside coverage for loss or damage. We have been working with the city's insurance carrier and risk management to explore our insurance options as new information comes in. These are the options we are exploring. A full analysis of the risk versus the cost of the various rate scenarios cannot be obtained until the full appraisal process is completed at the end of this fiscal year. The history of the collection shows a lack of maintenance support for the care and proper storage of the collection. As a result, some works in the collection are showing condition problems created through handling, environmental conditions, improper storage, or normal wear and tear. This is a picture of the art storage room, and we're in the process of improving the storage facility to address the concerns that are indicated. We have begun the final stage of the appraisal, which will give us a comprehensive picture of the collection's value. Once the final phase of the appraisal is completed at the end of this fiscal year, we will have the data we need to gain a comprehensive understanding of the value of the art collection as a city asset, have the ability to make informed decisions regarding art insurance requirements with accurate cost analysis, and we will make informed recommendations with priorities for maintenance funding. Thank you.
Mark, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Just want to again thank the council for your support. We're wrapping up our third year of funding for this process, and it really will give the city a much better idea of the asset that we have in the full collection, as well as the maintenance requirements for it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And members, I think all of us should watch this. I remember a great painting that I still want to find of the Hyperion Bridge, Eric, that is somewhere. I want to see that again. But Ms. Hahn, you had a wonderful idea that I don't know if we could accept a friendly amendment to this. Could you push your button?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just sitting here feeling what I think probably a lot of people are feeling, and that is exactly where is this art collection that's being stored. I would like to just add a friendly amendment that maybe we have General Services possibly report back to us on looking for maybe a better space to display this art so that I mean, this is our art, it's the people's art, and I would venture to say most people don't know where it is. If they wanted to go look at it, they really wouldn't know how to go look at it. Seems to me we have a very valuable asset here, but I only think art is valuable if people are able to enjoy it. And I think besides the statues, obviously, if there was a place where we could actually show our art collection on a regular basis, either a permanent location, I think that's a great idea. I think there would be a lot of communities that would welcome having this collection on a permanent basis, so it'd be one more reason for people to enjoy it and tourists to come and view our art collection. So that would be my friendly amendment, that we would at least have a report back on whether or not there is a public space that we could what's the right word?
Create a gallery.
A gallery, an art gallery of our public art that we own that is very valuable, but I don't think it's valuable unless people can enjoy it.
All right, I second the friendly amendment.
That is an amendment that will be added to this report to have a report back, have General Services work with the Cultural Affairs Department on looking for a location where the city's art can be displayed.
Also, instead of just GSD, look at the Harbor Department, see if they have any space in the harbor area. That would be, thank you.
All right. That motion then is now before us, receiving and filing this and get a report back. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Item number 5. Mr. Labange.
Members, again, I call this special again because I think it is something we should all take note of on issues related to our buildings and the architecture of the building and the plaque that would be there so well to define and inform what the building's named for, who's the building's named. Just like in this great chamber that we sit, there's a plaque in the back of this hall that describes the great work of John Ferraro, who this chamber is named after. I think that's an important aspect to having a public building. Last night we dedicated the Will and Ariel Durant Public Library on Sunset Boulevard. A wonderful plaque was there established that talked about the library department and their team and the city council and our team, our mayor. And I thought, it's coincidentally that this would come up at the same time, that there should be a plaque to tell who Will and Ariel Durant were and the writers and what note they were as residents of that area and why it was named as such. So this would go a long way and instruct several departments to come back to us with some type of form or process within a scope of time to find a way to truly recognize. Because, Madam President, I don't know if all of you do this, but I do read plaques. And I read plaques and I get inspired by plaques. There's a plaque called the 1 Mile Tree Plaque on Ferndale Road in Western Canyon. It was a tree planted, an oak tree, in 1915 by the Hollywood Professional Women's Club. And that inspired me that I know that in 1915, people went 1 mile up from Los Feliz Boulevard to plant an oak tree that now still stands, and they put a little plaque there. And I think when you go to Public Village, you read a little plaque, whether it's about John Ferraro or the great plaque for Tom Bradley outside this hall and all his work that he did, I think it inspires people. So I think this is a very important matter that should be included in all the work that we do, and I ask for an aye vote. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. No one else is wishing to speak, so open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
Item number 6 was called special by Councilmember Labange.
Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much. I just wanted, again, there's a lot of park issues today on this, call the attention of the National Parks Coalition effort to preserve and maintain all the national parks, as we call on our efforts. Parks sometimes do run into the challenges, and we are in a cycle now, not just our state, not just our city, but our country of a bad budget. But there's nothing like the work of others in the past who created the parks for which people play and recreate or imagine in. And I just wanted to ask for your aye vote on this matter and for your support on this as we go forward. I thank you, Madam President. Parks are important.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That matter is approved. Next item.
Item number 14, called special by Councilmember Labange.
I didn't plan it that way, Madam President, but I will. But then the most important park in the country to me is Griffith Park, as it seizes the home of so much of the city's resources that people could come and touch. They could experience a wilderness experience within the boundaries of our city and throughout. And to know the history of this park, over 100 years old, when it was given to the city of Los Angeles by a donation of Griffith Jenkins Griffith, it did provide a place for those to go and to recreate. And I want to see us expand that park into open lands that are now privately held. I want to see it expand west to the Cahuenga Pass. I want to see it expand to connect with the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power's Lake Hollywood Reservoir Complex. I want to see it expand to Barham and the Los Angeles River area by Universal, so the future generations of Los Angeles will have a great, expansive park. There's no other park in the country where you have 4,200 acres surrounded by a population like this. There's other parks that are large in the country. There's other parks that are very unique in the country, but there's no park that has that large wilderness that is there. And believe it or not, everything west of the H in the Hollywood sign was owned by Howard Hughes, which recently was sold to someone, and now we have to make an effort to acquire that for the public, because it's not only just to be in a park, but it also helps to see in a park. I think why we as people from Los Angeles are so strong is because of the mountains that surround us and the valleys that are amongst us and the ocean that is there. To see the Pacific Ocean, to think and dream, to go to a park and to think and dream, or to see the mountains. And the one thing I'm so concerned about this issue here is that area is pure and is open up in the Hollywood Hills. That should be a vista and a view for not only those to walk and hike in, but to those to see from the city. So members, I just ask for your aye support, and I thank you for your efforts and your own individual love of the own parks that you advocate for. But I appreciate our efforts to try to expand Griffith Park in this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Labange, Proposition 50, which was passed by the voters, helped us maintain the Amundsen Ranch in Parkland, and I would suggest maybe if Proposition 50 funds are available, those are the funds we use, and that fund will continue to grow. And I don't know how much money you need for that, but it's designed for that particular purpose, so it doesn't hurt the cities or the counties, and that money's in a fund for that purpose. So it helped us, and we now have the Amundsen huge parkland for the benefit of the people forever. And I just wanted to add that Prop 50 was the resource that we used to make that purchase.
Thank you. Mr. Labange.
And Mr. Zine, too, on Amundsen, because there was a holiday break, there was a wonderful full-page map, I believe in the Los Angeles Times outdoor section, that spoke of Amundsen and the importance of that great ranch. And that will be surrounded one day, not necessarily as tight as Griffith Park is, but it will be surrounded as all of Southern California is impacted with people who are here. So I appreciate your tip on Prop 50. We also have a Santa Monica Mountains assessment district that the people of the area are assessing themselves $45 a year to create a fund, which is creating a substantial fund to join in that. Thank you, Mr. Zine, very much, Mr. Zine. My pleasure.
This matter is now before us for vote. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That matter is approved. Next item.
Item number 18, called special by Councilmember Perry.
Ms. Perry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the request of the department, I wanted to have this matter continued until January the 15th.
Is there any objection to continuing number 18 till January 15th? Seeing none, that will be the order. Next item?
Excuse me, the 15th is Thursday, Friday the 16th?
Friday the 16th, then.
Next item, Madam President, item number 33, call special for cards from the public.
Let me open the public hearing and call forward at this time Mr. John Walsh.
I've lived in Hollywood since 1976. Peggy Stevenson. Before that, Robert Stevenson. We never had the boulevard closed with the frequency that we now have it under Mr. Garcetti. I know he's got lots of friends in show business. I know he's a creative person. I know he's written a musical that someday may be produced by the same people that are now getting favors at the studios for Mr. Garcetti. But here Disney is closing the boulevard again. Now this is a transference of wealth. The money goes to Disney, a corporation that has children in Cambodia working for 9 or 10 cents an hour, to Disney, by closing the boulevard and hurting the immigrants who came to this country who are working here in businesses. You don't see any of us complaining about the people who have businesses on Hollywood Boulevard, and that includes the T-shirt shops, which we like and we want. But we see Disney coming in. Disney, child laborer to the world, and the boulevard is closed for Eric, and they can have parties on our boulevard, and what happens to the businesses on the boulevard? The businesses die. But then again, who cares about that child in Cambodia? Certainly not Mr. Garcetti, and certainly nobody up here. So close the boulevard, keep closing it, and have big parties for motion pictures as the huge corporations take over Hollywood Boulevard. Thank you.
That closes the public hearing. Let me recognize Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I just wanted to clarify for the record that the boulevard will not be closed. It's a number 2 lane, the sidewalk, and I want to thank the Hollywood community for reducing the number of closures by about 90% in this past year, both as a combination of a new street closure committee. We've had the number of different players, Chamber of Commerce, Business Improvement District, and representatives of our local neighborhood council sit on that committee. I want to thank Beitzar Tomasian from my staff, too, for her leadership on that. And this will be one of the events, as many are, in which we make sure the boulevard continues to stay open, and we will be reimbursed for costs. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Labange.
Thank you. I just wanted to compliment Mr. Garcetti because it was a struggle in the beginning in the redevelopment of Hollywood. Then they all chose to close the street down. And now we've decided through this committee process, which I know with Beitzar, Michelle Fleener on my staff works, and many other people in the community that get impacted. And Sunday, I was on Hollywood Boulevard. There was a partial street closure for something at the El Capitan, which allowed people to get there. And the gentleman did make a point that when you close the street off totally, it does hurt the commerce there, and it's important to keep the commerce or keep the people walking on the street. And Mr. Garcetti has mentioned that committee has worked to that. It also has worked to resolve the problems around Franklin Avenue because of the impacts of traffic of people going through the Cahuenga Pass or south by Hollywood High School and Highland. So all that adds to it. There's more that we have to do on these street closures. And if you look at the old historic, and I think in one of the committee meetings I mentioned this, there was a Delmar Watsons, who the Watson brothers were, and they're great photographers. They had a great exhibit at the Central Library on Old Hollywood. When they did movie premieres, they did have keg lights, they did keep the street open, they did close the curb lane. And now we're back to closing the curb lane on these premieres so it doesn't shut it totally down. There will be times when there's parades. There will be time when the Academy Award comes. There'll be time when there's a special event that it will be sealed, closed, and will have a greater impact. But the majority of them now, thanks to Mr. Garcetti's leadership and this committee, have reduced it totally. So I want to thank you. And I also want to thank the fact that everybody's reimbursing on these special events, because it is something. We do all support filming. Filming is an important aspect of our life. But when you have a party, budget for the closure of the street and the cost of the city service there to make it fair to everybody. I thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Mr. Zine.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on my travels through Hollywood that I've seen it revitalized. I see a lot more activity there. And when ready to go to sleep, I watch Jimmy Kimmel Live from the El Capitan on Hollywood Boulevard, which I know has generated a lot of positive activity and people spending money in that area. It's improved. It's definitely improved. And it was really deteriorating before you took office. And while there's some inconvenience on occasion, I think that goes hand in hand with the improvements that have been made, the jobs that have been created, the economy that's been created, and really revitalizing that area. So while some may criticize you, Councilman Garcetti, I want to commend you for doing a fine job. And I know you would join Tom LaBonge in that area of Hollywood. I don't know who splits on that side of the street, but both are doing a great job up there. So congratulations. And people need to visit that area. I know that Hollywood and Highlands gone through some changes and some problems. The hotel next door is doing very well. My son polices that area, and he's always talking about the positive change that's taken place in Hollywood. So congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Mr. LaBonge.
Point of information for Mr. Zion. He gets all the premieres, I get all the traffic problems. No. But also, Eric, have you ever been to a premiere? I haven't been to a premiere yet. I was on Sunday, I was walking down Hollywood, going to the Roosevelt for a luncheon for the Hollywood professional women, and they had a premiere going, and I almost wondered what it would be like. I would like to go one time and see what it would be like, but it would be fun. I thank you, Mr. Garcetti, again. Thank you.
That concludes the public, the comments from those who wanted to speak. I'm on the council. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
Item number 37, call special for cards from the public.
Let me open the public hearing on item 37 and call forward Joanne Val and Leonard Munge.
Joanne Valley. I'm president of the Harbor City Neighborhood Council, and I'm also speaking on behalf of Narbonne High School. We're so excited about this library coming to our community. There was a headline in a newspaper called the Harbor City Press back in 1921 that said the city of Los Angeles ran out of funds to be able to build the library in Harbor City. So we've waited a very, very long time, and we're really excited about this new project. And it's just wonderful that this is happening to our community. Thank you very much.
Yes, and my name is Leonard Monge. I am the Secretary and Governing Board Member for the Harbor City Neighborhood Council. And presently, the existing library is located in a crowded strip mall, has limited space, limited parking, and access. The proposed library is going to have easy access. It's going to be within walking distance for our high school and for one of our elementary schools. This is also going to provide an excellent venue for study, for research, and for community activities for 3 neighborhood councils and a number of other community organizations. I just want to thank our Los Angeles Public Library system. They've designed a beautiful building, and I'd also like to thank Councilwoman Hahn and her staff for making this a reality, and we also appreciate the support of the Los Angeles City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me recognize Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, this is exactly what Eric Garcetti was talking about on, I believe it was item 10 today. And this is such a good example, and it's an opportunity to thank city employees. It's an opportunity to thank our library department for, being good fiscal stewards of our money. When the voters passed, I believe it was Proposition DD, which voters agreed to tax themselves to build more libraries. This Harbor City, Harbor Gateway Library was not one of the projects that were listed in this bond. And yet, because of the good fiscal responsibility of our library department, we were able to save money. We were not able to save enough money to build a whole new library, but we were saved enough money to pay for part of this library, a third of this library, and that's all we needed, because Proposition 14 said the state would actually bring money into a project if the local municipality were able to pay for 1/3 of it, which is exactly what we were able to do with the savings. So now we have enough money to build this beautiful library for the Harbor City, Harbor Gateway community. As Joanne Valley said, I didn't realize it was 81 years or something that the community has been waiting for this. I always talk about 40 or 50 years the community has been waiting, but they've actually been waiting a lot longer. And I think the current library, you wouldn't believe it, it's a storefront in a strip mall. that is very inadequate, and yet it is always packed with people who want to use its services, particularly after school. The children that crowd into this strip mall to access our library is phenomenal. And what is really neat about this Harbor City Harbor Gateway Library that we're proposing, it really will be a joint use agreement with LA Unified School District. And as part of the agreement, the library is going to provide a reading area that's going to be designed for teenagers, 2 study rooms, a computer lab, and a young adult librarian who can relate to the students. And the LA Unified School District, in return, will provide the library with an extension of the school homework club and a certified faculty member to coordinate the club's activities, peer tutors, computer literacy student trainers, homework-specific software, and a list of special class homework assignments that will need extensive library resources. So it's really a great partnership between the school district, the City of Los Angeles, and it's being brought to a community that has waited close to 80 years to have their own library. This is a great day. It's a great example of everyone really working together to provide really a great resource which will not only improve the quality of life for these residents, but we really think will improve student scores and really will help our kids after school. So I want your aye vote on just accepting this money today from the state of California to fully fund this gorgeous 14,500 square foot library.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Labange.
I just wanted to add on as chair of the committee and the strong support here in the libraries. Last night, the Will and Ariel Durant Library was dedicated on at 10 o'clock yesterday morning, really, which was wonderful. Then because it was Sunset Boulevard, we did it again at 6 o'clock at night, and guess what? It was absolutely packed. It was 2 sellouts. We rented a keg light, so made a Hollywood premiere, and it was a lot of fun. And what I'm saying, Ms. Hahn, is what happened on Sunset's going to happen down in Wilmington, which is so important, and Harbor City, and in San Pedro, and in Silver Lake, and in Sun Valley, and in every part of the city, which is so important to have a library in there. So this is good for the Harbor Gateway area, which will be so important because I've never been in a library. You know, when I worked for Richard Riordan, I used to go by sometimes and go to the pantry late because they always say never without a customer. And I was in there once at like 3:30 in the afternoon. There was only 2 people in there, me and another guy, so it came real close. What I'm saying is, I've never been in a library, but there hasn't been throngs of people in there. It's banging at the seams. This is the greatest place in the city that you have activity of people going. So this work that you've done, Janice, has been excellent, but it's also the excellent work of the library staff. And I really want to thank the library staff for all that you do, and Fontaine, your work, and Susan, and Goldberg-Kent, and please forgive me for not recognizing you as well, all of the staff that's there. But thank the Los Angeles Public Library, and this will be a great day for Harbor Gateway. Harbor City Gateway, great day. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. This matter is now before us. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That matter is approved. Thank you. We'll also send that one forthwith. Next item.
Item number 43 was called special by Councilmember Garcetti. There are cards on the item, and an amending motion has been distributed to the council members.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you, Madam President. I would move colleagues for a 10-minute public hearing on this. I know we've already had one committee, but I'd like to give folks a chance to be able to speak here today to the full council. So if there's no objection, 10-minute public hearing.
Is there any objection to the motion to open the public hearing for 10 minutes? Seeing none, we will go ahead and conduct a public hearing. Let me call the speakers, ask them to line up. First, those in favor, Mr. Jack Rubens, Paulina Gonzalez, Roxana Tynan. Would you please come forward to speak at this time?
Good morning, Jack Rubin, Shepherd, Mullen, Richter, and Hampton. I'm actually speaking against the project, so should I wait until
Yes, why don't we go ahead and hear those
Okay.
in favor. That was the others I called?
Hi, my name is Paulina Gonzalez. I'm with the Hotel Employees and Restaurant Employees Union Local 11. I'm here to ask you for your support of this project that includes a hotel on Hollywood and Vine. The developers of the hotel, Gatehouse Capital, have signed a carjack neutrality agreement with HERE. This means that workers at the hotel will be able to choose union representation without the fear and intimidation that can accompany an anti-union campaign. The employer will stay neutral and let the workers choose the benefits of union representation, which include living wages, free family health insurance, and job security. So I ask for your support of this project. Thank you very much.
My name is Roxana Tynan. I'm here from the LA Alliance for a New Economy, also representing two groups that couldn't be here today, the Hollywood Interfaith Sponsoring Committee and the Yucca Residents Group, both of which were involved in negotiations with the developer, successful negotiations for a community benefits agreement that include much deeper affordability on the housing units than we otherwise might have gotten. With the council members' support, this has been concluded. Also, local hiring agreement, $100,000 for job training for workers on the site, an additional $30,000 for a healthcare outreach program to have somebody who can go out to workers on the site and let them know if they're eligible for healthy families if our governor doesn't wipe that out. Also, of course, the living wage ordinance and responsible contractor would apply. And lastly, although it was not part of our agreement, the developers are also providing $500,000 to Hollywood High School for their program. So all in all, we think this is a great program, and the folks who live in that area who are part of the Yucca Group and Hollywood Interfaith are really excited and urge you to support this. Thanks.
Thank you. We have Naomi Guth.
Good morning. My name is Naomi Guth, and I'm here on behalf of Mayor Hahn's Office of Economic Development to express our office's support for this project. This project is a significant contribution and is needed for the revitalization of not just Hollywood, but the city of LA at large. The contribution in terms of job creation, secure jobs, as well as housing for the community at large is needed. And the project will have just a significant contribution in enhancing the immediate area of Hollywood, being across from the Pantages Theater, tying in all of Hollywood Boulevard. So our office encourages you to support this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will hear from those who submitted cards in opposition, Mr. Jack Rubens, John Walsh, and Robert Blue.
Good morning. Jack Rubin, Shepard, Mullen, Richter, and Hampton. On behalf of the owners of real property located at 1620, 1630 Vine Street, which include Allman Investments, LTD, and Larry Warshell. This property is located on the proposed project site. We have previously submitted a lengthy letter to the council dated December 31st, 2003 that outlines in some detail my client's objections to the project, particularly with respect to the adequacy of the environmental review under the California Environmental Quality Act. Thank you.
Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, resident 76. Mr. Garcetti, suppose Gatehouse doesn't come up with the money, the $200 million to build this gigantic W hotel, four-star hotel. Can you imagine someone paying $400 a night to live in 18th Street gang territory where I live? 18th Street gang territory. Where is the money? And I'd like to ask Mr. Garcetti, if for some reason they do not come up and capitalize the project, this gigantic hotel for the jet setters to live in the armpit of Hollywood, will you be in favor of dropping the project altogether? And you've done no environmental study, absolutely no EIR. You've tagged something on, the no standalone EIR, you've tagged something on to the plan amendment. That is illegal. You cannot build a project without doing a full environmental study. And incidentally, there is litigation concerning whether the vote and the process by which the full plan amendment EIR was undertaken, whether that was done according to law. There is a lawsuit. You know what? It's about time for you to get up and say, one way or another, there's $200 million in the bank This project is a go. Where is Gatehouse? We've been looking for Gatehouse and for the W Hotels. We're probably going to find them on John Walsh's other show, America's Most Wanted, because we can't find anybody from the W Hotel that will get up. No, this is a matter of bait and switch. And as far as this trickle-down theory, that the money is somehow tax increment, the tax increase from building this doesn't go to the city. And in fact, they've done something very unusual here. In all other CRAs, the money that is captured, whatever tax increase, goes to the entire city. In other words, the wealthy parts of the city help the poor parts of the city. But not
Walsh,
in Hollywood. I'm finishing. Not in Hollywood. Half of the money goes to Hollywood. Half of any increase in taxes go to Hollywood, and the rest of the city doesn't get it. I'm telling you right now, Eric, I challenge you to a debate. You debated on secession with Gene LaPietra, and you boxed his ears. Now you're going to have to go after me. I'm the Bernard Hopkins. You're the Oscar de la Hoya. He won't go after Hopkins. You won't go after me. CRA, revised. Get rid of it. Are you willing to debate me somewhere else?
The next speaker, Mr. Walsh.
Oscar de la Hoya is afraid too.
Mr. Blue, and then that will be followed by Chris Schabel, who didn't, and she just wants to make general comments. Mr. Blue.
Okay. First of all, an important thing that we should know is, as public officials, environmental impact reports are very important. The environmental impact report for the Hollywood Plan Amendment covers an 1,100-acre area. This project is one block, and it can have a significant impact on the overall environment regarding traffic, pollution. If you add up the number of parking spaces and the increase in density that'll be impacted after the project, especially if it's successful, you know, it especially affects seniors and children. Again, additional pollution issues like that. Also, you know, there's an overall issue of spending taxpayer dollars for private development. I know on the federal level, many of us kind of objected to the current administration policy of basically the 80s, rehashing the 80s trickle-down theory of giving money to wealthy corporations and letting it trickle down to the community. I think it'd be better spent, we talked about this morning about libraries, and that would be a better use of our money as well. It's a world-famous intersection of Hollywood and Vine. I'm sure private development would love to come in there if there wasn't this situation now where you're forced to go through the CRA. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blue. Thank you, Mr. Blue. Ms. Schabel.
I think I'm bringing up the rear. I want to talk about Vine Street. I don't know if any of you have passed the new development, which a famous athlete has his name on it, and which he should be ashamed of. It's the most cheap-looking development, has signs all over it. And when I said to the architect, I thought that there was a visible blight. He said, well, it's supposed to take your eyes up the building from one sign up to the next, to the top, which will have the art. So I said, when you're driving, how are you going to do that? He said, well, we think it looks good. And would you like to have a walk around? Well, it's still a visible blight. And this project at Hollywood and Vine has the same signage. And I feel that's terrible because we're going to be all signs. And if we get it in Hollywood, you'll get it in all your districts. So remember that the signs are now getting bigger than the buildings, and they're enormous and just awful. And I'd like to go to the project itself. Legacy and Gatehouse. Legacy called owners of buildings and told them that the CRA will eminent domain their properties, which I think is outrageous. If they're going to build a project, they should build it like they did in New York, where they incorporated the projects that were there and built around it. The Gatehouse has talked about taking their hotel somewhere else, and the four-star hotel is very much in question. And under the four-star hotel is garages for buses. And I don't know how you would feel being in a four-star hotel and having buses go underneath you. One, I would be afraid of the pollution, and two, the noise would be enormous. And then they say they're going to have condos. Well, if you know Hollywood and Vine, there's a huge office block, and the condos are tucked behind the office block. So if I was a person with money, I certainly wouldn't want to be behind an office block. And when we look at the Sunset Vine, they have no landscaping, and I wonder what's coming on the Hollywood and Vines project. And also, I'm very concerned that there's no EIR. I don't care what the CRA says, that their amendment is in lieu of ERI. We should never go out from that. We should always have an EIR. So I think that although I would like to see a project there, I don't think this is going to be developed, except for housing, maybe. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the public hearing on this matter. Let me recognize Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Madam President. If you could hold my time, I'd wonder if we could have staff from CRA come forward, Ms. Hisser. And just while she's coming forward, colleagues, this is an MTA property, or most of the property, as some of it is held in private hands, but why don't you come to the table, help me here. And there was an RFP that MTA put out. This was the one that was chosen as the winning bid. Before, I wanted to address a couple of the questions that were raised before. One, if the financing package is not in place for the hotel, what happens to the entire project, the way that we have structured this and the way that we're voting on this today?
The project dies. The financing package must come back before the CRA board and the city council before this project can get final approval.
Okay. That was a concern that I know Mr. Yaroslavsky had, is a concern I think that all of us had. It is a dual partnership, but and I know some have raised the idea of a bait and switch, but this would make that bait and switch impossible to do. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I want to thank the members of the community who are part of the benefits package. Colleagues, I think this is really a model benefits package for the city in terms of really putting on the ground some of the things that are of concern in the Hollywood area. The Hollywood Interfaith Sponsoring Committee, which turned out about 2,000 people last year at a meeting that the mayor and I attended on affordable housing, were a critical voice in making sure that the affordable housing component goes above and beyond what is necessary without a city subsidy. Let me repeat that again. Without a city subsidy at all. Usually we pay about $50,000 per unit. How many affordable units will we have in this?
54 currently.
So that would represent usually an outlay from all of us of about $2.5 million, is that correct?
Probably higher, actually.
Probably a little higher because of Hollywood. What we're putting forward today has those checks in place, and I agree, yes, Mr. Walsh, that if it doesn't come, if there is a bait and switch, this project does die or goes back to the table and we have to reopen for anybody to come back. In terms of the properties that are also there, these ongoing negotiations, I'd like to continue to ask the CRA to make sure these negotiations continue, that is the way forward. It's something that I feel very strongly about as well. And in terms of local control, you know, we hear arguments sometimes on both sides that a CRA area takes money away from a given area, or that we see our tax money, this came up in the Valley, this came up in Hollywood, this came up downtown. Tax money is generated and then it's spent throughout the city. CRA is in some ways the best way of having local control. The tax revenue that's generated in a given area gets spent there in the community. And Hollywood is still a very poor community. In the 2000 census, I think many of you know my district is the third poorest in the city after CDs 9 and 1. And the poverty that continues to exist in those parts of Hollywood, we need to have jobs, good paying jobs. I want to thank HERE for their participation in this. And this is what will happen with this project, is that we'll be able to have that sort of revenue. But part of it is shared citywide. In many ways, Hollywood is a bit of the golden goose that shares that. Could you just detail for folks how the Hollywood project area is then, that money is spent in redevelopment areas in other parts of the city too?
Sure. This, I think if what you're asking is some of the finances or the tax increment flows from this project. Helmi Hisarick, Deputy Administrator, Los Angeles CRA. This project generates approximately $64 million of tax increment on a present value basis. That's about $18.7 million over the life of the redevelopment project. It also generates about $193 million in tax revenues to the city on a present value basis. Pardon me, I misread. $128 million to the city. That's transient occupancy tax, retail tax, business license tax, utility tax. So the total taxes to the city over the life of the project area are $128 million. On a present value basis in 2004 dollars, that's approximately $35 million. So we think that and the total community benefits package we think is valued probably at about $4 million. We think the community benefits far exceeds any commitment the agency has made to the project, and then all of these revenues flow to the city and to the redevelopment agency untapped. So it's revenue to the city.
Thank you. Today, colleagues, we'll see this many times. This is just, we still have many steps to go, the most important of which is that agreement later this week from the W Hotel. We still have to clear a number of different steps, finish the negotiations on the land. What you're voting on today is the city's, and it's not city general fund, it's project area tax increment, but $500,000 up to $2.5 million, though most people I've talked to don't think we'll need to go anywhere close to the $2.5 million, to get immediately $4 million in community benefits, probably more than $25 million in affordable housing that we don't have to pay for, that we usually would subsidize, and on top of that, the flows to the city of the jobs and the income generated, which is something that does help fill potholes, which does help open libraries, which does help us make sure that our parks and recreation activities can not only continue but grow, that does put police officers out there on the street. So I urge your support today. I want to thank the Mayor's Office for their help. I want to thank both the proponents and opponents for really digging into this one, because I think both sides have been able to dig in ways that have made sure that this is going to be something that has protections if it can move forward, and if those protections aren't met, it won't move forward. So I know we have those steps to go, but I also want to thank the CRA for their good hard work in the community too for being here, and I urge your support today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing none, this matter is before us with the amendment as submitted by Mr. Garcetti. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That matter is approved. We've also had a request for item 49 to go forthwith, so ordered.
Next item, Madam President, Council has motions for posting and referral.
They are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember President Padilla requests to be excused Friday, January 16th to leave at noon for city business. A motion is required.
Mr. Padilla is excused to leave on the 16th.
And Councilmember Villaraigosa requests to be excused January 16th to arrive at 11 a.m. and a motion is required on that also.
Mr. Zine moves, Mr. Garcetti seconds that Mr. Garcetti is approved to arrive late.
And that clears the desk, Madam President.
All right, the desk is cleared. Members, are there any announcements? Mr. Zine.
Madam Chair, I'd like to introduce Mr. Ron Feder, who's the president of Lee & Associates. He bought a day with the councilman, one of the local charities in the valley, and he's seen our activities take place here in council today, and I just wanted to introduce him. He got a chance to meet some of the council members. I just wanted to let him know that his money well spent on the charity is being put to good use, and the fact that you're here today, we appreciate you coming by City Hall and seeing the activities that are taking place. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Mr. Padilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for doing a great job today. Just want to announce to everybody watching at home from the San Fernando Valley and specifically from the Mission Hills community, the Mission Hills Neighborhood Council is having their monthly meeting this evening at San Jose Elementary School at 7 p.m. Mission Hills Neighborhood Council meeting, 7 p.m. this evening at San Jose Elementary School.
Thank you. Mr. Garcetti, do you have an announcement?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. On Thursday, I know it's a couple days off, but I wanted to give folks a heads up. One of the most exciting parks to open in the city in a long time will be opening. Los Angeles Times profiled it about 8 months ago. It's called the Bimini Place Ecology Park. The Bimini Baths, which were at 3rd and Vermont many years ago, were open hot springs that much of the city went to in order to recreate. What's left of them now is a place called Bimini Place, one block to the east. And working with this city, the Brzee Foundation is opening up what we're kind of pitching as an e-park, both an ecology park where young people can come and see the stormwater come back up where the river used to exist there and learn about what we throw onto our streets and into our drains and learn about educating ourselves to not pollute. But then also it's an e-park because it's going to be the first wireless park in the city. And through a grant that the Brzee Foundation has, young people in the neighborhood will be able to bring laptop computers, use them in the park, learning about nature, doing their homework in a completely wireless environment. So that'll be 10 a.m. on Thursday. We invite the community to come down. It should be a fabulous opening.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Any adjourning tributes today? Members, any adjourning motions? Mr. Parks, could everyone please stand for adjourning motions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's this to adjourn in honor of Charles Burden, who passed, was first of all born on June 16, 1932, passed away Sunday, January the 11th. He's the father of Karen Chappelle, who is the president of the City Civil Service Commission. Mr. Burden was born in Midland, Michigan, graduated from Cass Technical High School in Detroit. He served in the U.S. Army, where he was a member of the peacekeeping force in Germany post-World War II. He excelled as a craftsman, both as a painter and a carpenter. He leaves his wife, Bernice, daughter Karen, son David, and Charles, and several other relatives.
Any other tributes? Mr. Villaraigosa.
Yes, Madam President, members, I'd like to adjourn in memory of Mary Lois Tenson, a longtime friend, former president of the California Teachers Association. Lois was born in Arkansas, lived in the segregated South. She was a woman who, from the very beginning, understood that education was the only way to opportunity in this country. She went on to become a school teacher and then a leader at the California Teachers Association. She is without question the single most important person in the mid-90s who helped to forge a focus on education in this state. I worked with her in the California legislature. We are very sorry to see her go. She's survived by her husband David, her stepdaughter Gail, two step-grandchildren Malcolm and Omar, two sisters Lily and Dorothea, brothers Joseph and Kenneth, an entire family of teachers and people who work in our schools who know her for her great leadership and her commitment to education. I have another.
All right.
I'd also like to adjourn in memory of Manuel Marin Serrano, was born in Laredo, Texas in 1920, passed away on January 7th this year. His mother, Soledad, established a small boarding house catering to Mexican workers in the steel mill in Lorain, Ohio, and he never forgot her example of hard work and perseverance. He went on to join the Navy in 1942 and served in the South Pacific. He was awarded numerous citations and medals for valor, including the Bronze Star and the Presidential Citation for Extraordinary Heroism in Action Against Enemy Forces. Upon returning from the service, he attended Bliss Electrical School and then returned to Lorain, where he met the love of his life, Amparo Magdaleno. They were married in 1947, worked in a steel mill for most of his life, and he's survived by his wife, Amparo, and his children, Sandra, Manuel, Marcela, and David.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.